Boy, oh boy, I sure do love living in New England, especially in nice places like Martha's Vineyard. Wouldn't you agree, Evan?
I sure would.
But you know, I've been thinking lately, despite our lovely home being almost exclusively white, with millionaires and A-list celebrities frolicking about, it's really our diversity that makes us special. Diversity is our strength, right?
Right.
Of course I'm right. I just love these beautiful Latinx illegal immigrants.
Don't call them illegal. No human is illegal.
You are so right, Evan. Lo siento. These beautiful, wonderful, soulful Latinx migrants bring so much culture to our land. I mean, who doesn't like their food? Breakfast tacos especially.
Totally. I don't even want to think of a world where we can't sample each country's cuisine and be served by them at our leisure.
Exactly. And they work so hard. Who else would farm our land, do our yard work, look after our kids, and clean our houses?
Yeah, I can't think of any Americans who would want to do that kind of work. I mean, who wants to clean their own house? That's why I have my girl Yolanda.
Hola, señor Evan.
She does all that for me for only $5 an hour. Speaking of our Latinx persons of color, there's a guy out front. He must be the new lawn care specialist for our neighborhood HOA.
Evan, are you sure he works for us?
What do you mean? He's brown, of course he does. We love our BIPOC brothers and sisters.
But he doesn't even have a lawnmower, or a rake, or even a shovel. He doesn't have a uniform.
Oh no! You're right! Call 911!
911, what is your emergency?
Yes, there is a stranger in our neighborhood. I don't think he should be here. What do you mean? He was shipped in from Florida. He doesn't belong here. Get him out. He is not welcome. Get me your manager.
Calm down. I got this, Dan.
Hello?
Why, yes, Governor? Nice to speak with you again. We have a problem. We are overrun with these brown people. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people. Yeah, I know we're in a sanctuary city. Just get them out. Thank you, Governor. We are so grateful.
Well, what did he say?
The National Guard is on their way.
As I'm sure you've heard, a few Republican governors in the South have caused quite a stir by shipping buses and planes full of migrants to so-called sanctuary cities in liberal pockets, mostly in the Northeast.
If you're out of touch, you may be thinking, why would these maniacs do such a thing? Well, I'll tell you. For too long, the national government has completely abdicated its responsibility to protect the borders. This means that the states at our southern border, and let's face it, the influx of migrants from Canada is tiny, they've had to deal with the problem on their own. It's like having a roof with huge holes in it, but you're only allowed to put buckets under the drips and throw the water back onto the roof, not fix the roof. So inevitably, the problem will never be resolved, unless it stops raining. But it's always at least a drizzle, oftentimes a downpour.
Therefore, a few governors, notably Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, possible future president right there, have taken the problem into their own hands and shipped these migrants to the places that scream, if you want to build a wall or just deport these people. And the reaction has been almost too comical to be true. They're turning into the same hateful bigots they think we are. They say, we don't have space for all these people, and why are you bringing crime to our nice neighborhoods? A bit ironic, don't you think?
Well. How the turntables...
It's easy to see why the border states are overwhelmed and cynical about the whole situation.
Some say that these governors are involving themselves in human trafficking. Let me explain with facts and logic why that is false. Human trafficking is, quote, the unlawful act of transporting or coercing people in order to benefit from their work or service, typically in the form of forced labor or sexual exploitation. If anything, Border Patrol frees some people from human trafficking over the border. Once in the custody of law enforcement for entering the United States illegally, they are not forced to do any labor or perform any sexual acts. They are just in custody like any other person who's been arrested. Sending them to other states is simply transferring a suspect to another jurisdiction. Besides, what impoverished Mexican doesn't dream of going to a big city like New York? or the place of old money like Martha's Vineyard. It's not like they're being thrown into Guantanamo or Death Valley. They're treated better here than in their home countries, or any other country for that matter. But before you get the wrong impression about me at least, let me say that I do think these people deserve our compassion and decency. Sure, their first act upon reaching our soil was to commit a felony, but many of them are women and children, and human trafficking is huge down there. Plus, do we really blame them for wanting to leave Mexico to come here? We may rag on America, but it sure beats Mexico.
Suitcases filled with bullets, grenades, and automatic weapons are just some of the items left over from a deadly gun battle. 1 soldier and 15 gunmen died in the 2-hour-long shootout. Wounded along
To give you some perspective on the sheer absurdity of the U.S. immigration policy, let's go over a few numbers. According to Pew Research, the United States has more immigrants than any other country in the world. Today, more than 40 million people living in the U.S. were born in another country, accounting for about 1/5 of the world's migrants. The population of immigrants is also very diverse, with just about every country in the world represented among U.S. immigrants. Wow, so many people coming to the most racist country in the world. Strange, isn't it? More than 1 million migrants come to America every single year, but only 400,000 are deported during that same time frame. In 2015, America's foreign-born population reached a whopping 45 million and is estimated to reach nearly 80 million over the next 30 years. According to the New York Times, 2021 saw some of the highest numbers of illegal border crossings. Border agents encountered 1.7 million people attempting to enter the country illegally. Now think about how many they didn't catch. Finally, almost half of all migrants live in California, Texas, and Florida. Just 3 states. But please, Martha's Vineyard, tell me more about how the arrival of a mere 50 migrants overwhelmed your infrastructure.
They are beginning to experience just a little bit of what the state of Texas and other border communities have experienced for years.
As you can see, there's a reason it's being called a border crisis. And with numbers like these, it astounds me that people still scoff at the idea that demographic change is affecting our elections and culture, let alone
the Great Replacement.
Sure, what Abbott and DeSantis are doing is just a stunt, since the total number of migrants far exceeds what they can realistically send to other states. But I would argue that it is actually a desperate cry for help, not a mere publicity stunt. Kamala Harris's designation as border czar is a joke. If she is a border czar, then I'm king of Greenland. For too long, Congress and the president have refused to do anything to solve the issue, besides Trump, who was stopped at every turn in his noble quest to build a wall, the only reasonable long-term solution to the issue of illegal immigration. Building a wall is the only sustainable way to keep cages and overcrowding from being necessary. Oh, you don't like that?
And the wall just got 10 feet taller, believe me.
the wall is a great idea. More border guards is a great idea. But if you want to put a real dent in the immigration numbers, we have to make America as unwelcoming and inhospitable to foreigners as possible so that they have no reason to come here in the first place. Maybe this means legalizing all drugs to eliminate the market for narcotics trafficking, which will disrupt the cartel's monopoly on the drug trade, bleed them dry, decrease their criminal influence, and possibly bring more stability to nations south of the border. Or maybe this means doing the opposite and emulating Filipino President Duterte, who legalized the murder of suspected drug dealers back in 2016, leading to thousands of deaths at the hands of police and vigilantes. Dismantling the welfare state would be an even better idea, but the political will to do such a thing will never actually exist. Using executive power to punish sanctuary cities and ramp up deportation is yet another step in the right direction. But the most efficient means of deterring further immigration to the United States would probably fall under the category of things you can't say online without getting a visit from the FBI. So instead, I'll simply say that if we want to save America from foreign invasion, we're going to need a lot of these, and this guy as president.